Wow. Without a doubt, this is going to be an emotionally charged report. Primary reason being is because utilizing genetics as a decent predictor of disease outcome may have been nothing more than an unintentional bias, meaning not a good predictor of disease outcome. Now, already right off the bat, you can understand how this is going to throw a wrench into a lot of mathematical models in regard to determining people's insurance rates or basically healthy years working if a business or whatever it is right off from the get-go. So with that in mind, let's look at the research at hand. First off, I want to give you an example, a little bit of the math involved, just for a second, into this new meta-analysis. Because the reason being, it's important to understand right from the start, knowing YouTube and other videos, that this is not an opinion. This is a well thought out mathematical analysis or large meta-analysis of data in regard to genetics and disease outcome. So, with that in mind as well, let us begin. Your DNA is not your destiny or a good predictor of your health. In most cases, your genes have less than a 5% to do with your risk of developing a particular disease, according to new research. And the largest meta-analysis ever conducted, scientists have examined 2 decades of data from studies that examine the relationships between common gene mutations, also known as single nucleotide polymorphisms, SNPs, in different diseases and conditions. And the results show that the links between most human diseases and genetics are shaky at best. That is a profound statement that's got a massive impact in policy decisions. But to proceed as follows. Quote, simply put, DNA is not your destiny, and SNPs are duds for disease prediction, quoting the researcher. The vast majority of diseases, including many cancers, diabetes, and Alzheimer's diseases, have genetic contribution of 5 to 10% at best. It's a lot of DNA ancestral testing right now, which basically utilizes genetics as a predictor of potential outcome of disease. Well, that information now has to be challenged. But to proceed as follows. There were a few exceptions: Crohn's disease, celiac disease, and macular degeneration. Quote, despite these rare exceptions, it is becoming increasingly clear that the risk for getting most diseases arise from your metabolism, your environment, your lifestyle, or your exposure to various kinds of nutrients, chemicals, bacteria, or viruses, end quote. Meaning you have your health in your own hands, not necessarily the result of your heritage. But to proceed as follows. Now, obviously, there's some genetic diseases, blood disease, and so on and so forth, which may rise an exception, but we're talking the primary ones, cancers, Alzheimer's, and so on and so forth. Quote, the researchers and collaborators suggest that measuring metabolites, chemicals, proteins, or the microbiome provides a much more accurate measure of human disease risk and are also more accurate for diagnosis. These findings fly in the face of many modern gene testing models, which suggest that gene testing can accurately predict someone's risk for the disease. Before we conclude, there's a few of the pages basically of the ORIC model data that they utilize to review. The link to the full study will be there, especially for you biostatisticians or those in bioinformatics or, Python aficionados and Scikit pandas or whatever you want to do, if you want to break into the data and check out basically the mathematical model itself. That'll be there for you. But in the meantime, these are a few examples of the many ailments they looked at in regard to the ORIC reviews. But to proceed as follows with the conclusion. The bottom line, quote, is that if you want to have an accurate measure of your health, your propensity for disease, or what you can do about it, it is better to measure your metabolites, your microbes, or your proteins, not your genes. This research also highlights the need to understand our environment and the safety or quality of our food, air, and water, meaning, again, personal responsibility environmentally, diet-wise, and obviously for yourself as well in regard to consumption and exposure. An amazingly large meta-analysis covering over 20 years of data, all broken down into mathematical models with the outcomes coming into a way that necessarily don't mean that your genes are a good predictor of disease. I'm not saying propensity. I'm saying, at least according to here, the math doesn't pan out, at least in regard to this research itself. I know it's an emotionally charged issue. We're all taught and brought up a different way with this internal bias in regards to genetics and disease outcome. But then again, that's what science is for, is basically to dispel those personal biases and hopefully facts come to the forefront itself. Again, this model will be challenged, so I don't want to say conclude this is the law of the land, but however though, best studies so far. And again, I hope this information helps. I look forward to see you all once again next 7 days. Happy New Year's, today being New Year's Eve. And again, without being too repetitive, hope to see you all next 7 days. And thank you for watching, and catch you all next time. See you then. Bye.